the hidden dimensions of awareness. If I told you that your brain is actively filtering out 99% of reality right now, not metaphorically, literally. Your conscious mind processes roughly 50 bits of information per second, while your sensory systems absorb over 11 million bits. That means you're missing an entire universe of data happening around you and inside you every single moment. This is a mystical mumbo-jumbo or new age nonsense. This is hard neuroscience. For decades, researchers studying consciousness have discovered something extraordinary. Awareness isn't a fixed state. It's a skill, a trainable, expandable capacity that most people never develop beyond childhood levels. Your brain has what neuroscientists call neuroplastic potential, the ability to literally rewire itself to perceive dimensions of reality that currently exist in your blind spots. Ancient contemplative traditions stumbled onto these biological loopholes thousands of years ago. Now modern neuroscience has proven they were right. The gap between ordinary awareness and expanded consciousness isn't spiritual, it's mechanical. And once you understand the mechanisms, you can exploit them. I'm about to share 10 specific protocols that hack your perceptual filters. These aren't meditation techniques you'll abandon after 3 days. These are neurological interventions with measurable effects. Start implementing them today, and within 3 weeks, you'll access states of awareness you didn't know existed. BODY the 10 Techniquest Part 1, Peripheral Vision Expansion Protocol. Most people think they see the world clearly. They don't. Your foveal vision is sharp. The tail center of your visual field covers only 2 degrees of your total 180-degree range. Everything else, your brain is literally making it up, filling in blanks with assumptions and predictions. Here's what neuroscience reveals. Your peripheral vision connects directly to your primitive brain centers. When you consciously engage it, you bypass the filtering mechanisms of your prefrontal cortex. You access raw sensory data. This is technique number 1 out of 10. The Peripheral Vision Expansion Protocol. Here's your exact protocol. Twice daily for 90 seconds. Soften your gaze and expand your awareness to include your entire visual field simultaneously. Don't focus on any single point. Let your eyes relax as if you're looking at nothing and everything at once. Notice the edges of your vision, left, right, top, bottom, all at the same time, without moving your eyes. Why does this work? Your peripheral nervous system shifts into a parasympathetic state when you defocus central vision. Your brainwave patterns change from beta to alpha within 60 seconds. You're literally altering your neurological operating system. Start practicing peripheral awareness during routine activities and watch your stress response dissolve while your situational awareness becomes almost supernatural. Part 2, Introspective Scanning Method. Your body sends roughly 10 million signals to your brain every second. You consciously register maybe a dozen. That means you're walking around essentially numb to 99.9% of your internal landscape. Neuroscientists have discovered something remarkable. People with developed interoception internal body awareness show enhanced emotional regulation, better decision-making, and increased empathy. They're literally processing more data about reality. This is technique number 2 out of 10. The interoceptive scanning method. Execute this protocol. Set a timer for 3 minutes, 3 times per day. Close your eyes and systematically scan through your body from toes to crown. Don't just notice gross sensations, hunt for subtle ones. The temperature gradient between your left and right palm. The micro movements of breath in your nostrils. The pulse in your fingertips. Name each sensation mentally as you discover it. The mechanism is elegant. You're strengthening the neural pathways between your insula, your brain's interoceptive hub, and your prefrontal cortex. With consistent practice, these pathways myelinate, making signal transmission faster and more efficient. You're upgrading your internal communication network. Start the scanning protocol today and watch yourself become fluent in a language your body has been speaking all along. Part 3, Temporal Perception. Dilation technique. When time doesn't pass at a constant rate in your subjective experience. When you're bored, minutes stretch into hours. When you're engaged, hours evaporate into minutes. This isn't poetic, it's neurological. Research shows that your perception of time correlates directly with the density of new information you're processing. Novel experiences create more detailed memories, making time feel expanded in retrospect. Routine experiences get compressed into barely memorable chunks. This is technique number 3 out of 10. The temporal perception dilation technique. Your protocol is surprisingly simple. 5 times throughout your day, Pause for 30 seconds and consciously notice 3 things you've never noticed before. In your immediate environment, a crack in the ceiling, the specific hum of the refrigerator, the texture of fabric against your skin. These must be genuinely new observations, details you've overlooked. Despite hundreds of previous exposures, this exploits your brain's novelty detection circuits. When you actively hunt for newness, you trigger the release of dopamine and activate your hippocampus, your memory formation center. You're literally creating more detailed temporal markers, which makes your subjective experience of time expand. Start embedding novelty into familiar spaces and watch each day become richer, longer, and infinitely more alive. Part 4. Attention fragmentation reversal system. Your attention span isn't shrinking because you're weak-willed. It's fragmenting because you've trained it to fragment. Every time you switch between tasks, check notifications, or interrupt focus work, you strengthen neural pathways for distraction. Neuroscientists studying attention have identified something called continuous partial attention, a state where you're perpetually processing multiple streams of information at surface level while never going deep on anything. It's cognitive quicks and this is technique number 4 out of 10. The attention fragmentation reversal system. Here's your intervention. Choose one mundane activity per day: washing dishes, folding laundry, eating a meal, and execute it with total, unwavering attention for the entire duration. When your mind wanders, and it will, don't judge it. Simply no thinking and return to the sensory reality of the task. The texture of soap bubbles, the warmth of water, the precise movements of your hands. The neuroscience is clear. Sustained attention strengthens your anterior cingulate cortex and dorsolateral prefrontal cortex, the brain regions responsible for executive function and cognitive control. You're essentially doing strength training for your attention muscles. Start treating one daily activity as attention rehabilitation and watch your capacity for sustained focus multiply exponentially. Part 5. Proprioceptive awareness amplification. Right now, you probably have only a vague sense of where your body is in space. Close your eyes and try to precisely locate your left elbow without moving. Most people are off by several inches. This matters more than you think. Your proprioceptive system, your sense of body position, is fundamental to how you experience being embodied. Enhanced proprioception correlates with improved motor skills, reduced anxiety, and increased presence. This is technique number 5 out of 10. The proprioceptive awareness amplification protocol. Execute this sequence 4 times daily. Close your eyes and bring awareness to 5 specific body points simultaneously: crown of head, center of chest, navel, palms, and soles of feet. Hold this 5-point awareness for 45 seconds. Don't visualize these points. Feel them from the inside. Sense their position in space relative to each other without conceptualizing. The mechanism involves your posterior parietal cortex, which creates your body schema, your brain's internal map of your physical form. Deliberate proprioceptive attention strengthens this mapping, making your sense of embodiment more detailed and precise. Start cultivating 5-point awareness and watch yourself become more grounded, coordinated, and fully present in your physical form. Part 6. Auditory field expansion exercise. Or constantly bathing in an ocean of sound, but you hear almost none of it. Your auditory cortex has learned to filter out irrelevant sounds so completely that they never reach conscious awareness. Research on auditory attention reveals something fascinating. When you intentionally broaden your auditory field, you activate brain regions associated with open monitoring and non-judgmental awareness. You shift from selective attention to receptive attention. This is technique number 6 out of 10. The auditory field expansion exercise. Your practice is this: twice daily for 2 minutes. Close your eyes and attempt to hear every sound in your environment simultaneously. Don't focus on any single sound. Create space for all of them: the distant traffic, the hum of electronics, the rustling of fabric, the rhythm of your breath, the sounds inside your body. Let sounds come to you rather than hunting for them. Why this works: you're training your thalamus, your brain's sensory relay station, to open its filters. You're also engaging your right hemisphere, which specializes in holistic processing rather than the left hemisphere's focused, analytical approach. Start practicing auditory expansion and watch your awareness become 3-dimensional, spacious, and infinitely more receptive. Part 7. Conceptual gap recognition method. Your experience of reality is mediated almost entirely by language. You don't see a tree, you see the word tree projected onto A visual stimulus. This linguistic overlay is so automatic you don't notice it happening. Cognitive scientists have discovered that language doesn't just describe experience, it shapes and limits it. Preverbal children and people from cultures with different linguistic structures literally perceive reality differently than you do. This is technique number 7 out of 10. The conceptual gap recognition method. Here's your protocol. Once daily for 5 minutes. Look at familiar objects and consciously suspend their labels. Don't think chair. Experience the shape, color, texture, and spatial relationship of what you're observing without naming it. When a label arises, and it will constantly note it, then drop it and return to raw perception. You're looking for the gap between sensation and concept. The neuroscience. You're interrupting the automatic activation of Wernicke's area, your language comprehension center. This allows your visual cortex to feed information more directly to awareness. Without linguistic mediation, you're experiencing reality preconceptually. Start practicing label-free perception and watch the world become strange, vivid, and astonishingly new again. Part 8. Microtransition Awareness Protocol. Your day is composed of thousands of tiny transitions. Standing up, opening doors, picking up objects, switching tasks. You execute these on autopilot while your mind races ahead to the next thing. Research on mindfulness reveals something profound. These microtransitions are portals. When you bring full awareness to the space between activities, you interrupt the trance of automatic functioning and access present moment consciousness. This is technique number 8 out of 10. The Microtransition Awareness Protocol. Your practice is beautifully simple. For 7 days, bring complete attention to 5 transitions per day. The moment you stand up from sitting, the second your hand touches a doorknob, the instant before you take your first bite of food. Feel the entire movement sequence from initiation to completion. Notice the microsensations that typically vanish into unconsciousness. This leverages your brain's prediction error mechanisms. Normally, your brain predicts familiar actions so accurately you barely experience them. By bringing full attention to these moments, you disrupt the prediction, forcing your brain to process actual sensory data rather than simulated expectations. Start inhabiting your transitions and watch continuity of awareness become your default mode rather than a rare occurrence. Part 9. Emotional granularity training. Most people operate with about 5 emotional labels: happy, sad, angry, anxious, fine. This emotional vocabulary is catastrophically inadequate. Your internal experience is vastly more nuanced. Psychologists studying emotional intelligence have found that people with high emotional granularity, the ability to make fine-grained distinctions between feelings, show better emotional regulation, more effective decision-making, and greater psychological resilience. This is technique number 9 out of 10. Emotional granularity training. Here's your intervention. 3 times daily. When you notice any emotional state, pause and attempt to name it with maximum precision. Not "I'm anxious," but "I'm feeling apprehensive about tomorrow's meeting," with an undertone of excitement and a residue of yesterday's irritation. Write these detailed descriptions if possible. Hunt for the most accurate words, even if you need to look up emotion vocabulary lists online. The mechanism is remarkable. Naming emotions with precision activates your right ventrolateral prefrontal cortex, which has an inhibitory effect on your amygdala, your fear center. The more precisely you can label an emotion, the more effectively you can regulate it. You're building a sophisticated internal navigation system. Start mapping your emotional landscape with precision, and watch reactive patterns transform into conscious choices. Part 10. Spatial presence. Anchoring techniqueo. Spend most of your life lost in thought about the past or future, while your body occupies the present. This creates a strange split. You're physically here, but mentally elsewhere. Neuroscientists studying presence have identified that your sense of here-ness, your feeling of occupying a specific location in space, is generated by integrating multiple sensory streams. When you deliberately amplify this integration, presence becomes effortless. This is technique number 10 out of 10. The spatial presence anchoring technique. Execute this practice 6 times throughout your day. Pause for 20 seconds and simultaneously notice 3 things: a physical sensation in your body, a sound in your environment, and an object in your visual field. Hold all 3 in awareness at once. Don't analyze them, just register them simultaneously. This creates a triangulated anchor in the present moment. The science is elegant. You're activating your parietal lobe spatial processing centers while engaging multiple sensory cortices. This multimodal sensory integration generates the felt sense of being located in space and time. You're deliberately constructing presence rather than waiting for it to happen accidentally. Start building spatial anchors throughout your day and watch the past and future lose their hypnotic grip while the present becomes vivid, substantial, and real. Closing these 10 protocols aren't isolated techniques, they're components of a comprehensive system for expanding your perceptual bandwidth. Together, they address every major filtering mechanism your brain uses to narrow reality down to a manageable stream: peripheral vision, interoception, temporal perception, sustained attention, proprioception, auditory awareness, preconceptual perception, transition consciousness, emotional precision, spatial presence. Each protocol targets a different dimension of awareness that you've been operating without your entire life. Science has confirmed what ancient wisdom traditions discovered through centuries of careful observation: awareness isn't fixed. It's not some mystical gift bestowed on the lucky few. It's a trainable skill with specific practices that produce measurable results. Your transformation doesn't start tomorrow or next week. It starts the moment you choose to engage one of these protocols. The moment you decide to stop settling for the 1% of reality your untrained brain offers you and start claiming the other 99%. The hidden dimensions of awareness aren't hidden because they're secret. They're hidden because you haven't looked. You haven't trained yourself to see what's always been there. Start today. Pick one protocol. Execute it with precision and consistency for 21 days. Then add another. Within 3 months, you won't recognize your perceptual reality. The world doesn't change. Your capacity to witness it does. Your future self, the one who inhabits a richer, deeper, more multi-dimensional reality, is waiting. The only question is whether you'll do the work to meet them.